Today's video dedication is for Whiskey Jack. Nine Fingers Keene versus partners Malcolm and Esior, Krenko and Nebuchadnezzar. Well, completely forgot to hit the record button, so if I don't manage to go through the replay feature and show you what's happened so far, then, well, here we are. You can have a look at the board. I'll go through it in a minute. We drew into Consecrated Sphinx, not having the best start here. We'll hold up double blue and pretend that we've got counter magic for our opponents to play around. But yeah, anyway, the mono blue player started off with a Mox Diamond, discarding a land, a Chrome Mox, putting a Dance of the Many underneath that. So that was a turn 1 Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator with 0 cards in hand. On their second turn, draw into Arcane Signet, play it, and the Esior, and then using Malcolm to swing in over at the Dimir player. The Dimir player has got out a couple of swamps. So far they've looked at Krenko's hand and now just ours, with the Glasses of Urza, also seeing a Lightning Greaves in play. And then the Krenko player got out a Battle Cry Goblin. So now playing a Goblin Burrows and a Fanatical Firebrand. And then activating this is haste and +1 to power on all of their goblins, so turning both of those in sideways at us. Malcolm's still in top deck mode, plenty of mana available though, so should be able to cast anything. It's a Crim Monolith. Yeah, I said in the commentary before that Malcolm Keen-Eyed Navigator players tend to be pretty try-hard, and yeah, this seems like a very powerful deck. Hopefully they'll be on the back foot long enough for us to do something about their very strong deck. Malcolm in at Krenko. Okay, just going to draw into all the big stuff apparently. That is an Icy. So we're obviously getting out the Rhystic Study here, hoping to draw into some decent stuff. Being punished for running Temple of the False God. I don't often, I certainly wouldn't run Temple of the False God in a Dimir deck because it struggles with land ramp. Yeah, I would really only do this in a deck, probably a green deck most of the time nowadays. So still stuck on 2 mana over there, not going to be casting a spell into Rhystic Study by the looks of it, unfortunately. Goblin Recruiter for the red player, allowing us to draw with the Rhystic Study, excellent, and that's the first decent draw we've had, a Lotus Cobra. And now both of the goblins swinging in towards Nebuchadnezzar, whatever the hell it's called. Malcolm goes straight through to combat, Esior in at the goblins, and the other commander in at the goblins as well. Alright, Ninjutsu being activated there, that is Sakashima's Student, bouncing the Esior back to hand. And that comes down as a copy of the Fanatical Firebrand. Not sure why they copied that one. Esior back into play again, choosing to crack one of their tokens to pay for the Rhystic Study, as they should. Alright, that is Barlaged Recovery. Yeah, I mean, I think we can just get down our commander here, in all honesty. Don't think the Krenko player is going to wipe the board. I don't think Nebo Nabubu is going to be able to wipe it either. Maybe a Toxic Deluge next turn if they manage to get into a land. But I think it's too early to be wiping the board yet, so try and get at least one trigger from the Nine Fingers Keene. Alright, Vampiric Tutor coming from the Dimir player, so maybe just looking to fix their colours here. Allowing us to draw a card, curiously. They do have the mana for the Vamp Tutor, and allowing us to draw a card, curiously. That's our first Guild Gate. Yeah, not sure why they didn't pay the tax. That does mean that we have to discard to hand size thanks to drawing the Guild Gate, so I'll just get rid of Reshape the Earth. We can fetch it back out with the Barlaged Recovery if we want to. And they've managed to get themselves into a command tower, so maybe that's what they'd shoot it up. It is a Dark Ritual here, maybe looking for their commander. Drew into a Gatecreeper Vine from the Rhystic Study. And now our opponent goes for a Windfall, so yeah, losing some decent stuff in hand there. We weren't getting into it particularly quickly, but yeah, it's a shame to lose it regardless. Right, that's a Maze's End. Noteworthy that we did lose one of our gates, and we have a very finite number of gates in this deck. I think we are missing a couple on Magic Online. That is Sol Ring into Rhystic Study, again not paying the tax. They're one land away from switching on the Temple of the False God. And a Howling Mine, so it's a group hug deck anyway, perhaps, or maybe just using that as card draw for themselves. I wouldn't have thought they'd struggle to draw cards in Dimir. Anyway, draw from the Rhystic Study again. They're being pretty greedy over there, but they are quite far behind, so yeah, maybe there's an argument to be made for not paying the tax there. Looking at the blue player's hand, I mean, I definitely wouldn't have refilled this player's hand. I yeah, I think I certainly would have held off on the Windfall there. They discarded a Shift, so they could have gone for this before the Windfall. Whispering Madness, so that is, yeah, another wheel. I think I just would have gone for this personally and tried to keep the mono blue player from drawing. Really set them up over there. Goblin player discarded a Ringleader as well as a Trashmaster, so I dare say that they wanted an extra land to try and get their Krenko into play. Goblin Lackey, and they can give it haste thanks to the Battle Cry Goblin. There's a player wide open as well. They'll have to give us a card draw with Rhystic Study unless they've got a land. Be very surprised with 9 cards in hand if they don't have a land. Giving us a card draw with Rhystic Study, that gets us into the Sol Ring. And all the goblins turning in sideways, they've all been buffed by 1 power. And this triggers getting them into another red goblin because they have enough power to trigger that. So attacks are, this is in at the left, as is this. Yep, just turning everything in at the left at the Dimir player. Goblin Lackey triggering, and they will get themselves a free goblin, which is, of all of them, Muxus Goblin Grandee. So we are well and truly in board wipe territory straight after I get my commander down. And when Muxus entered, it got them a Goblin Chieftain, so they've got haste for their commander now. Like I said, still missing a land, but if they get a land next turn, then it's Krenko, and yeah, we're all looking pretty screwed at that point. Now time to see what the blue player can do. Yeah, it's more powerful stuff. Spellseeker, allowing us to draw a card with the Rhystic Study because, I mean, we've got a grip full already anyway. So another gate. It would be good to get into Azusa, I'm sure, is in this list. I wonder if we're going to keep Renin 7 in for a turn. Maybe we could make the Tree Folk with this. Hope that no one swings in at us. It's not likely the Goblin player's going to go wide. So maybe we just slam this down and get all of our lands that are in hand into play next turn. Yeah, there's a Cyclonic Rift. So just going for that right now. It could be worse for us, in all honesty. That actually helps us have Renin 7 stick around, actually allowing us to draw from the Rhystic Study again. So that takes us into Pier's Whim, which isn't the best as the board stands now. At least the blue players consistently tapping out instead of holding up counter magic every single turn. Although they're going to make a treasure token yet, aren't they, thanks to the Malcolm. So Malcolm goes in at the Goblin player, we get the Goblin, and Esior is going in at Nebu Bum Bum. Okay, so with the Renin 7 plan, we get 3 additional lands into play. Might draw another one here to make it even more worth it. Yes, we do. We get into an island, so that will be, if we land it, 4 extra lands into play. So, yeah, let's drop an island and a Sol Ring. Blue player is holding up priority with 7 cards in hand, 3 treasure tokens available. So I'm not confident that we're actually going to land this, but I think we just need to try it. They probably should let it down because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is, yeah, enters with 5 loyalty, so they don't know that we're looking to not add any loyalty to it, in all fairness. Well, we'll just see. Okay, that's allowed down, excellent. So any number of lands from hand onto the battlefield tapped. So selected all 4 of those, highlighted in green. It's a shame that we didn't manage to get out the Lotus Cobra previously, or the Tireless Provisioner here. Got plenty of green in hand, so we'll just name green on that one. What does it tap for? Blue and a green. And then the Gateway Plaza, we have to pay 1 into that, or we will have to sacrifice it. So that sees us tapping out. Gate Colossus is still going to cost us 6 mana, so yeah, probably get rid of Gate Colossus and the Solemn Simulacrum at this point. Dimir Catacomb coming down here, so that activates, or allows them to activate the Temple of the False God. They get down their Sol Ring and Howling Mine again. Alright, and it's a Scheming Symmetry they go after there, so yeah, that's actually pretty good for the Goblin player. They're desperate for that land, and they're also going to draw after the Tutor as well, thanks to the Howling Mine, so it doesn't ruin their draw. Playing a Chemist's Insight to draw 2 cards. They're going to have to discard to hand size, so discarding those Urza's Glasses. A Goblin War Chief, another haste enabler. We know that they have the Goblin Chieftain in their hand as well. Not whether they didn't hold up a red there to get down one of their 1-drops. You really need to be maximising your mana when you've got so little of it. And ignoring the Planeswalker entirely, the Goblin War Chief swings in towards the blue player. I think we do need to really start paying attention to this blue player. They've been largely ignored this game. Although, yeah, leaving Wrenn and 7 in play probably isn't the cleverest idea either. Malcolm doesn't trigger when it hits a Planeswalker. So, yeah, it may well be that we manage to have the Wrenn and 7 survive during the next turn. They get rid of Goblin Sledder. The Battlecry Goblin, surprisingly. Although they've got the 2 Haste Lords, haven't they? Fanatical Firebrand could have played this turn. Goblin Cohort could have played this turn. And then Sting Scourger and a Goblin Sharpshooter as well. The Vesuvan Doppelganger comes down as a copy of Spellseeker. And they have revealed to us a Mystical Tutor, so what's that? Tutor number 3. Casting a Mirage Mirror. That can become a copy of an artifact, creature, enchantment or land. Making it a copy of the Fanatical Firebrand, so I dare say this might be so that they can take out the Planeswalker. Nope, Malcolm swings in at us. The Goblin swings in at the left, Esior in at the Planeswalker, the Spell Breaker or whatever it's called, the Spell Seeker in at the Planeswalker, and the Goblin in at the Goblin player. So, yeah, our Planeswalker survives amazingly. Malcolm triggers at the end of combat. And that nets him 3 treasure tokens, still 7 cards in hand over here. One of which we know is a Mystical Tutor. So now we need to decide if we want to make a big tree folk or not. Because I don't think we're going to be protecting our Planeswalker for another turn cycle, so maybe we should just do that and kill it off. Alright, there's a Sultai Charm. Draw again to the Howling Mine. Alright, not getting into a land annoyingly. That is a Gatebreaker Ram. +1/+1 for each gate we control. So yeah, I'm going to play out the 9 Fingers Keene here. And we'll swing in with it this turn, I think. So we'll want a Swiftfoot Boots as well. Swiftfoot Boots being allowed down goes onto our commander, which is also allowed. That's simply to give it haste. It pretty much has hexproof already, thanks to having to pay 9 life for spot removal. And then I'll just minus down on this thing now. Because like I said, we're not going to be able to protect it for another turn cycle. Might as well just get the big tree folk in here. So we get a 9/9 Reacher. Might be that they can put a flash creature or something in the way of us here, but I do want to really focus on this blue player now, so I'll just hope that our Menace can get us through. So that does get through. We land 4 points of commander damage and look at the top 9 cards. And alright, we've got a couple of guild gates to look at there. Let's go after the one that can buff our commander, might become relevant. The Gate Colossus triggers here. We can put it on top of our library. I don't think I particularly care about that at the moment. And it might be, yeah, I'm either going for the District Guide or the Piers Whim anyway, so it's best that I don't shuffle it away. We'll say no. Just remembered that the Field of the Dead is in this deck actually, so yeah, maybe should have gone for this before combat, although there was no guarantee we were going to get into a gate off our commander. Chances get less and less likely as the game progresses. So let's just go for Piers Whim here. It's a pretty good use of our mana. The blue player is definitely a foe, so we'll get them to sacrifice an artifact. I want the red goblin player to stick around. They've done well sticking it around so far, so we'll say friend and let them search for a land. And then it is foe for the Dimir player. And we are obviously friend, we don't want to sacrifice anything. So should probably get down another gate here, but I just want to get down as many chump blockers as possible, as soon as possible, because that goblin player might still swing in towards us, so we'll go for field. Krenko just went after a basic mounting. And that leaves us with 6 cards in hand, so we'll pass the turn like that. This is an 11/11 with reach. Howling Mine was sacrificed here, by the way. It was Grim Monolith over here. Now a Waste Knot, so it might be going for another wheel. Following that up with a Fell Spectre. Each opponent, oh no, its target opponent discards a card. And that player loses 2 life when they do. So obviously, yeah, pretty obvious target to point it at this blue player. They choose to discard a land, so that makes double black into the Waste Knot. And using some of that mana for an Arterial Flow. Each opponent discards 2 cards. You control a Vamp, then they lose 2, you gain 2. This is a Spectre, not a Vampire. So annoyingly, have to discard a couple of cards here, I think. Yeah, Much as I don't want to, I think it has to be Gatebreaker Ram and the Tireless Provisioner, because we need to start really playing gates more effectively, and District Guide is going to let us do that. Holding on to your spot removal is typically a good idea. So that triggers Waste Not a whole bunch of times. Discarded over here was the Goblin Chieftain, surprisingly. And Siege Gang Commander. Yeah, what goblins do they have in hand if that's what they're discarding? Mana being created into the Waste Not, Scalding Tarn, and Command Beacon being discarded. And it's discard pain from the Fell Spectre, so we each lose 4 life. 4 zombies being created, and 4 black mana from the Waste Not. So then using the double blue, that is a Flood of Recollection. Return an instant or sorcery from graveyard hand and exile it. So they're going for the Arterial Flow again. Wow, and that has... Really? That has... I kind of understand the Goblin player, but why on earth did the blue player scoop to that? They've got Mystical Tutor in hand. They could just tutor up some means of refilling their hand, surely. That is really weird that they both scooped there. Yeah, they didn't say anything in the chat. Alright, we'll get rid of our District Guide and the Beast Within, and we'll just hope that we can draw into more stuff. So we lose 4 life. It is drawing a card and a zombie from the Waste Not. Okay, so let's see what we draw into here. That is Familiar Ground. Each creature you control can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, which actually comes at a really good time. That means all these zombies can't block our commander, so definitely want to get that into play. Play out the Rhystic Study as well. And then we actually only control 3 gates at the moment, so +3/+3 is... yeah, it's going to put this on 7. It means they're on a 3-turn clock against our commander. And that allows us to activate the Maze's End first. We could do that first so that we get more of a buff from this. Yeah, let's do that. Search up the Baldur's Gate so that we can start making a bunch of mana. That goes straight into play, triggering the Field of the Dead. Gate Colossus as well, again I don't think is going to be particularly relevant here. And then play the Maze's End so we don't end up discarding it. Can only do this as a sorcery, so tap down the Basilisk Gate, point it at the Nine Fingers Keene. That jumps up to an 8/8, so swing straight through at them. Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, can't be blocked by less than 2. So at the Nine Fingers Keene going on the stack, we do get another gate. I don't think it particularly matters between these two. So that can just be the Black Dragon Gate, and we will make green and black with that. Triggers the Field of the Dead again, as well as the Gate Colossus. Say no to the Colossus again. I imagine we're going to be discarding this Sultai Charm, but you never know, we might draw a bunch from the Rhystic Study. The Tree Folk up to a 13/13 with reach now, by the way. And we've got 4 zombies to their 5. Flashing back with Jumpstart, the Chemist's Insight, draw 2 cards. And surprisingly allowing us to go for the Rhystic Study. There's another gate we could be discarding. Maybe they're going to try and fill our hand as much as possible before making us discard it. Playing a Dismal Backwater. And then a Death Baron. That buffs their zombies and turns them into Death Touchers. We'll certainly draw with the Rhystic Study, and Exploration is a bit too late. Does potentially give us discard fodder though. Now a Lightning Greaves as well. Again we will draw from the Rhystic Study. That's Assassin's Trophy, that's good. I dare say they're going to protect their Death Baron though, but maybe it's the Waste Not. But maybe it's the Waste Not that we should be going after anyway. Lightning Greaves does go on the Death Baron. I was going to say it'd be a mistake for them to swing in with it here, and yeah, they're just coming in with... that is 15 points of damage. We can block it next turn, I hope. I wouldn't have thought... maybe they do play Plague Wind or something like that, a one-sided board wipe. Yeah, just in case, I'll chump some of these now. So only 3 coming through to us there. Our zombies are going to get wiped out, and they are going to keep theirs, unfortunately. So Rhystic Study doing some good work for us there. That is a forest, so maybe the exploration going to be useful after all. Let's play the Manor Gate, and that can be green and black. Triggers Field of the Dead and Gate Colossus once again. And this means that we can add more mana with the Baldur's Gate. We get more of a buff with, where is it, the Basilisk Gate. Activate the Maze's End. This does make it, yeah, we've only got 3 left, so this does make it less likely that we'll get something from the Nine Fingers. Just Simic Guild Gate, doesn't really matter. Triggers Field and Gate again. Then let's make a bunch of green mana with the Baldur's Gate. That nets us 6 mana, so now we can drop the Exploration. That allows us into the Maze's End again. Triggers Field. And we'll play the Sultai Charm. Let's draw 2 cards and then discard. We can discard the land to just give them black mana and hope that they don't have anything to do with that black mana. Alright, there's an Avenger of Zendikar. We discard a land. Lose 2 life to that thanks to the Spectre. Now if we buff our commander it only goes up to an 11/11, so we don't have commander on them. So I wonder if it's just worth getting out Avenger for the chump blockers here. Oh, I think we can actually afford both. Let's go for Avenger regardless. Yeah, we can afford both, that's really good. So we can dump a big buff onto the 9 fingers. We're going to get a lot of plant tokens to block with here. So that gets us 15 plant tokens, which also means the Tree Folk is a 15/15. Basilisk Gate again is at sorcery speed. So we'll do that now before the beginning of combat phase. And yeah, did do my calculations correctly, so that's an 11/11. Go through to combat here, gonna put them on 19 points of commander damage. They're gonna have to kill us next turn. A couple of wheels might do it, or something like that, because we haven't managed to get rid of the Waste Knot this turn. Was more scared of the immediate threat in those zombies. Can actually force them to block here. Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. It's best to get them to block with this, so we're not losing any life to discard. But they do have to block that Tree Folk here, or they're going to lose. So the Spectre goes straight in the way of the Tree Folk. And that triggers 9 Fingers Keene. We'll be really lucky if we get a gate here. We do not. Yeah, so that is what we reveal. Not going to get any of it into hand. Only a couple of gates away. I know one's in the bin, isn't it? Yeah, we've got Dimir Guild Gate in here. I think we've got a couple more in the library. Alright, and our opponent decides to scoop there. They've got 3 cards in hand, but don't fancy their odds of being able to do anything, so clearly they don't have anything that they can do to us. They're really just looking to go wide, and obviously we've made it so they can't do that. We draw next turn into Demonic Tutor. Yeah, it's probably, we don't have Reshape the Earth, so it's probably Scape Shift, and then we can get the gates that we need out of our library and get a bunch more zombies and mainly refill our hand with 9 Fingers Keene next turn, but I mean we win next turn anyway, so that doesn't really matter. Apologies for those 2 scoopers. Like I said, I can kind of understand from the Goblin player's perspective, but yeah, why that mono blue player scooped, I have no idea. They were looking pretty damn good the entire game. Anyway, hopefully you all enjoyed it. Be sure to consider donating on Patreon via the link in the description below. Huge thank you to those of you who support on Patreon already. It is what keeps me sticking around doing this channel. I'm tribalkai. Thank you for watching.